Hello, and today we'll be covering the spoilage of chicken, salsa, and goat's milk. We'll leave these samples at 15 degrees Celsius, and every day for up to 18 days, we'll monitor their deterioration in terms of smell and visual appearance, as well as monitoring changes in pH and water activity. On day 1, the milk is of course newly purchased and shows no signs of spoilage. It's white in color and free of off smells. By the second day, the milk had begun to separate and there was a slight sour smell, and now by day 4, the milk had clearly started to separate and a ring of sediment had formed around the top. Over successive days, this separation would continue to become more apparent, with a curdled layer forming at the bottom of the bottle. These symptoms of spoilage would continue to become more apparent for the remainder of the storage period. By the final day, that ring had grown in size, and the separation had caused the top layer of liquid to become slightly yellow and transparent. The chicken, also newly purchased, started off with meat that was pink in color and fat that was off-white and smelled only of raw chicken. By day 2, the chicken had begun to discolor, and by day 3 there had been a noticeable color change, with the meat darkening and the fat taking on a yellow color. The chicken had also taken on a rancid smell, and the meat was less firm overall. This would continue, and by day 4 some bacterial growth was beginning to become visible on the meat and the sides of the bag. By day 7, the chicken had taken on an obvious rancid smell and discolored significantly. There was significant bacterial growth. And finally, on day 10, the chicken had become significantly discolored and bacterial growth had continued to progress. The salsa is similarly free of signs of spoilage at the beginning of the experiment. However, unlike the other two samples, it did not show visible signs of spoilage over the storage period. Unfortunately, as a low pH food, salsa is not overly conducive to microbial growth. Typically, you'd begin to see colonies of molds, such as penicillium or rhizopus, appearing on the surface of the salsa. The time until visible colonies appear can vary greatly. However, you can see that the yeast and mold counts have increased in your lab notebook, as reflected as an increase in the counts on PDA agar. That concludes this week's video. Thank you for watching, and be sure to watch next week's video, where we'll discuss microbial inactivation and the determination of D and Z values.